Hello, welcome back to Dry Bones Garage. This episode is a part of a series where me and my dad take a 63 Corvair and try to fix it up and make a hot rod out of it. We originally got it from Illinois, from a group of nice people. We bought it, we brought it back to where we live now. We were working on it for a bit until we realized that the frame was really rusty. So rusty to the point it's unfixable. We were originally going to put the Corvair to the side for a bit until we decided to go to a junkyard and search for a substitute for a chassis ourselves. We went to the boneyard and we ended up finding a G-body Cutlass. I believe it's an 83 G-body Cutlass. We got a G-body because they're more convenient for our situation. We have G-bodies that we're working on, or Dad has his own cars and projects that he's working on. This one, for example, this is Malibu. He's working on the electronics right now. He's almost finished. He got it from Grandpa originally. I'm fixing it up. Anyways, we brought the Cutlass home. We stripped a lot of stuff off of it. We got it down to the bare chassis. We cleaned up the chassis a bit, patched up some holes, painted it with some anti-rust stuff. I'm not sure what it's called. When we were gonna set the Corvair to the side, we took out the engine and the transmission with it. That was difficult. We took the Corvair, the rest of the Corvair, the body, and we put the chassis underneath it. And in the process of kind of marrying the two together and putting the floor in, we're getting close to putting in the floor in now. I don't know if there's anything else to say. I hope you enjoy the episode. Here I cut up some metal to give the bracing in the car some extra support.
That'll work.
How far do these have to be out?
I would put them just inside of those bolts. No, inside. That's outside. Inboard. Towards the center of the car. Somewhere's in there is good. We don't have to be precise on this. This is temporary bracing. Mostly so we can pick the car up and move it around as we need to. And if we want to set it fully down on the chassis, we got to cut this one because it's interfering with that trans. Okay. Both sides? Okay, then we'll cut what's in between. We'll cut that chunk out, yeah. No. Leave this. Remove this. Oh, baby. You know what that means. Next time we set this car down, she's going to go all the way down.
After that, Dad drilled some holes for the body mounts.
You want to do the rest of them, or you want me to?
You too?
Shake it!
You're already in there.
Yeah, well, this is your car. I'm working on mine.
My weld failed. The welds in the other piece of metal failed too. In order to make room for the frame, we had to cut more out of the car. Unfortunately, we cut more than Dad would have liked.
Can't say I'm happy with having to do that, but it is what it is.
We squared the body to the frame.
Oh, that's weird.
What's weird?
Inside the car, we look pretty center. Outside the car, we look way off center. Gonna have to look at that. Granted, center line of that axle may be way out of place right now with that missing trailing arm. So, it's the best thing to do. Granted, those could be mismatched wheels with mismatched offsets. We don't know. Unfortunately, those were just something your grandpa slapped on the Malibu when we went to pick it up, and they hold air. And those dinky little 13 inchers weren't going to work on this thing anymore. And they weren't holding air anyway, so it is what it is. We just have to figure it out. And then we need to figure out how we want to start building the inner. Well, once we get this thing centered, and we know it's centered and anchored down, I like where the rear end is sitting, I think, right now. So we'll probably build to that, but we're going to have to bring the front end down about 4 centimeters, 2 inches. That should be good for a low profile 14, I think. And that should be a good size tire for this car. It'll give you a little better leverage too. Yeah, does it almost feel like something now? Rather than a pile of work.
It feels nice to sit in it.
Boy, that frame comes in. That's gonna be weird.
What's gonna be weird?
If we want to keep the vents, we're gonna have to build the floor pans and the firewall in a very wonky configuration. We're going to have to relocate the... yeah, it's all mangled anyways now. We're going to have to cut this out and move it up. I'm going to say a good 1.5 inches, I'm guessing. If we want to keep the Corvair steering column, I have my reservations regarding that thing. Simply because if this thing gets away from you, or if somebody ends up, if you end up taking a header from somebody else, or you screw up and end up piling into something, the factory steering column on this thing can telescope. I don't know what kind of modifications we'd have to make in order to keep it, and I don't know that we necessarily want to. We might be better off going with the G-body column and then seeing if we can fit the original wheel to that column, how wonky that would look if they're if the hub diameters are roughly the same. Or I shouldn't say the hub diameter, but the collar is roughly the same size from one column to the other. If that's the case, then the hub diameter on the wheel will match up, and then we can just paint it. And then you'd have tilt. The column I got doesn't have the locking mechanism anymore. I don't know that we necessarily want that. We might want to just, hack all of that off and putty it up to make it look all smooth and whatnot, and then you can keep your dash mounted key if you want. We'll have to figure that out. But that would give us more modern wiring, which might made up with the newer harness. I haven't bought it yet. It's supposed to be a generic universal GM compatible, so I'm guessing it would probably more likely made up to that column better. There's a whole lot of big question marks yet, and we still haven't tried fitting that floor pan in here. We don't know what the heck that's going to do or how it's going to do, and that's going to necessitate a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to have to do to make it work. like getting this braced and then cut, because I'm 90% certain this is going to interfere with an F-body floor pan, which is what we did get for this thing. Now the real thinking starts. It isn't just what's in the way. It's how do we put it back together. Everything inside the frame we're going to have to build from the sills out to this, and then this will give us kind of a uniform center where we can mount. These we're going to have to build off of the beef up, because I'm figuring what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate that cross brace underneath, cross member, whatever you want to call it, that's supporting the transmission. The back seat's right here. This is probably where the front seats go, right about here. So we're going to have to get some plugs. I didn't get any of those. The picture suggested this would have been a little bit more complete than it is. But it is what it is. Well, we don't have the firewall at all. We might be able to scab some out of that G-body, but obviously the tunnels are very different. So we'd be looking more for sheet metal, and from what I saw, the rest of the pans are pretty good junk in that thing. Maybe the center section out of the trunk floor, but I don't know how much of that we can use. The fair side of the back side of it was really rusty, but where we need it, because we have to cut it way down for that car, might be enough of it left at that section to be solid. Yay! It's so pretty! What do we got here? Oh, this is just racing. That said, I like racing. I don't have to build it. Have to do a little bit of reading up. Alright. I expected this to be higher. We might be able to just shove this right through the door, lay it down underneath the car, and then rotate it into place, and just sort of.
We cut the braces out so we could begin to attach the body to the frame.
As much of those inner wheel wells we had to cut out, we might want to take a look at repurposing these, assuming they'll fit. And it looks like that's going to be a laughable. I wonder if these can be cut and welded. We might be able to section it, narrow it up. Looks like they'll fit front to back, but side to side they're a little too much. Cut a couple inches out of them, maybe. I don't know.
Now, at last, we are going to put the floor in the vehicle. We tried to get it in by pushing it under the frame, but that didn't work so well. We then lifted the car and pushed it in that way. What?
We just moved the body a lot.
At the end of it all, we came to the sad realization that it was rash to put the pan in the car too soon. Well, that's about it. Getting closer. See you later. Bye. Have a nice weekend, or whenever you're watching this, or day, night, evening. Goodbye. Goodbye. He's almost finished with it. He's working on the electronics right now. He's working on the electronics. Now at last, we are going to put the floor. Now at last, we're gonna put the... Now at last, we're gonna put the floor in the vehicle. Now at last, we're gonna put the floor in the vehicle. Now at last, we're gonna put the... Yeah. Let's go.